My name is Takara.
Jasmine.
Marcia. I'm a teacher. I teach social studies and economics and government, and I'm very excited to come here. My students and I actually sent food down here. The children collected money and we sent a donation of food for the Occupy Wall Street, and now I'm just excited to be a part of a movement that is definitely going to change the face of the United States, and I would like to one day in my future years of teaching to be able to say that I was a part of it.
I'm here because this is what America is all about. It's about revolutions, it's about change, it's about us having an actual voice. What people fail to realize is that politics really starts with the people. I mean, there is no government without us, and I think it's important that we continue to show that we control it. And this kind of
Exhibition of it.
Right, of people, and just in my lifetime I've never been able to experience such a thing, and I'm very excited to be a part of it and see history happen before my eyes. It's very rare that you get the opportunity to take a part in actual history, and one day this movement will definitely be a part of our history books. I'm very excited to support it.
I'm just a concerned student. I'm 17, so I've got quite some time before I enter the job force, but if things continue to go the way they do now, things will only get worse. So by the time I graduate college, much hope will pretty much all be lost. So I think it's so important and so admirable what these people are out here doing, making a difference, and not just watching history, but being a part of history, because that's what America is all about. You need to get involved if you expect to see change, because without the people, our government is for the people, ran by the people, of the people. So if the people don't get involved, nothing can be changed. And if we are the representatives of America, and our government is supposed to represent us, and if they're not doing an adequate job, and we feel like there's too much corporate greed going on, and we're not being adequately served as a people, we need to go out and do something about it. So I really admire everyone that's here.
I would definitely like to see that the 1% be moved out of power and give more power to the 99%. You know, it's just unfair that 99% is controlled by 1%, and I don't like that. I don't condone that. The math doesn't add up. So somehow, some way, I would like to see some changes. And the election is coming up next month, and if everyone needs to get out and vote. If you believe in this movement, the only thing that's going to change it is if you get up out of your bed on November 8th and go outside and actually vote, because voting is the key to the change in the future. A lot of times people don't listen to what we have to say, but when we go outside and we go on election day and we cast our ballot, in favor of people that's going to listen to what the 99% have to say, that's the biggest thing that could change anything we want. We have to vote. Voting is our biggest key.
Again, the one thing I want to see is that more active involvement of my generation. Like I said, this is an experience that probably the one experience I will have in my lifetime that I can record myself and say it's a big deal for me, because it's changing the way our government is shaped, and that's really, really, really important to me. And I just think that some of our spirits need to be revived, and I think this is one of those kind of things that takes place once every couple, 30 years or so, and I think it has stirred the pot, and I just hope that it enlightens a lot more people of my generation and my age to become involved and active in their government and show that they do have a voice.
Like they both said, I agree. We just need to get more involved, so I'm glad that it's bringing more awareness to it. It's definitely something that young people my age are speaking about, and this is not something that normally kids my age would know about, but this has definitely brought a lot of light to what's actually going on in America. And as my mom had said before, now people maybe will get riled up and they'll be angry and they'll be mad enough to vote, because it doesn't make any sense. Even in 2008 when Obama was elected, that was one of the most biggest turnouts, and only about 68% of the population voted. So imagine if the rest of the country had voted, what would be different today? Because if you can't sit down and complain about something if you're not going to do anything about it. So if you don't vote, you can't make a difference, because that's our job as a people and as a nation. That's our civic duty as citizens of the United States. So hopefully people will be more active now that they see what's going on.
I'm here because something like this is long overdue in this country, and I live in Manhattan, and I am drawn here. Any spare time I have, I come down here. I'm helping to organize a march on Wednesday for guaranteed and affordable health care for all Americans. That's my particular passion. And of course we have close to 60 million Americans without health care. We have countless millions losing their homes. We have $1 trillion in student debt. Students graduate from college and they are heavily in debt, and then they can't find a job. So this ship is sinking, this American ship, and we have got to make our voices heard. And finally, thank God this is happening, finally. I would like specifically to see single-payer health care where every American citizen has access to guaranteed and affordable health care, and it's not a privilege, but it becomes a right of citizenship, just like every other industrialized nation. I'd like to see help for people who are losing their homes. We bailed out the banks, but we forgot about the people. We paid for the bank bailouts, and then the American people got sold out. So I'd like to see young Americans able to go to college without having to graduate with huge debt. I'd just like to see a country where everyone has an equal opportunity, and right now that's not happening. This is a historic time in our lives. I lived through Vietnam protests. I was on the front lines of the civil rights protests. I was fighting for women's rights, and now we're fighting here to make sure that all Americans have equal opportunity and very, very essential health care for everybody, not as a privilege but as a right.
Okay, it's a long answer, but I think that I want a better world. I have a 2-year-old boy that I want him to grow up in a better world. What that means is basically I think that there's no government anymore. There's corporations behind everything, the special interests. Not even countries anymore. It's all corporations. It doesn't matter if Democrats win, Republicans. It's all run by the same money. So I resonate with the idea here that we are the 99%, and we're not fighting against the 1%, against the millionaire, billionaires. We're fighting, and we want to see change in the system. There's no reason why we have the technology and the resources for everybody globally, for nobody to die of hunger, and we have kids dying of hunger. We have all the resources, like the technology, but because of we were in the system, in the monetary system, where everything is a special interest. Profits is put before human value, even human lives. So there's many things, and I know it's hard to conclude, to put specific demands, but I think what brings everybody here is we're tired of that economic injustice. There's no reason why we're spending all the money that we're spending in war, and there's people dying of hunger. We don't have money for schools. So I think it's something very profound. It's a conversation that is just the beginning, and that's why I'm here.
We have to end the brutality that's going on. It's not just physically hitting somebody. They taking people's houses. People got families to feed. If a man came into... Why was the Indians fighting? Because they was taking shit from them. They was fucking them up. And they just want everything. They're like parasites. And then people got kids to feed. 5, 6 kids to feed, and you over there, oh, well, you make $30,000, but you got to pay $2,000 a month in rent. Well, I don't know, but then when you pay your car insurance, I'm doing the math, and you wait 2 weeks to get paid, then you got to pay frickin' for oil, then you got to pay for heat and mortgage, land taxes, utilities, food and water and clothing, repairs. How the fuck do you live? I just got that question for Obama. How are these people living? I just, in my head, went to about $40,000. How does that happen? How does somebody live off of $30,000 when they have to pay $40,000 plus interest? Explain this to me.
So what do you want to see happen?
I feel there should be a rollover plan. I really want the end of capitalism. I really would like the U.S. government to be toppled.
To be what?
I really want the overthrow of the U.S. government.
You want the end of capitalism?
All over.
This government to be what?
Overthrown.
Into what though? If it wasn't capitalist, it would have to be something else.
Socialism, egalitarianism. If communism works, anything that works is good.
So you don't think capitalism works?
It never worked. Because when has capitalism ever not come from slavery? In history, capitalism has always come from some type of oppression of a people.
Well, that's the underlying issue of it, isn't it?
Exactly. So that's why I don't like capitalism, because capitalism can't exist without oppression. You must have racism to have capitalism. You must have an unfair class war to have capitalism. You have to have police brutality. You have to have a prison system. If I have a house because I enslaved your family, should I have that house? It would seem that it's your family's house because they worked for it. You know? That's why I say dump capitalism, because without capitalism, people would have. If communism worked, I'd be for it. And communism works in certain
here to try to
areas.
Is to try to create a new social structure.
Yeah.
You know, I think all of those have failed. They might have carried us through the industrial age, but now in the age of technology, none of those precepts are valid. I think what's happening here at this particular location is that people are attempting to develop a new format, maybe taking pieces of all these previous formats, but they're under a totally new paradigm here in this environment. And we are facing an enemy that has utilized all those previous formats to oppress the so-called 99%. So I don't care if you go to Russia and there's socialism, there's still a top 1%. I don't care if you go to Venezuela and there's fascism, there's still a top 1%. I don't care if you come to the United States and we got capitalism, there's still a top 1%. So the only common denominator in all of those platforms is that the top 1% remains on top. So therefore, we have to scrap all of that.
So you think we're starting something new here?
Without question. Without question. This is not my mother's revolution. This is not your father's protest. This is real. The people are really here. They are really eating and sleeping and drinking and educating themselves and attempting to forge a new basis for civilization. One that's conscious of the planetary needs, one that is conscious of the individual needs, one that's conscious of your material needs, one that's conscious of your sexual needs. What we are attempting to integrate into our culture is true freedom, justice, and equality, which we have not yet experienced, even as Americans.